In our modern education systems, there is a heavy emphasis on external achievement. From a very young age, children are trained to pass tests, earn certificates, and build resumes. They learn to chase goals that are measured by others. Grades awards approval, but rarely, if ever, are they shown how to manage their internal world. No class teaches a child how to observe their own thinking, how to deal with rising anxiety, or how to maintain clarity when overwhelmed. This neglect of the inner world creates an imbalance. We become experts in external performance, but amateurs in emotional resilience. This lack of inner training becomes more evident as students grow older. They might excel in logic, but struggle with stress. They may be able to speak multiple languages, but find themselves lost in their own emotions. They can write essays, solve equations, follow instructions, but when faced with rejection, uncertainty, or failure, they are defenseless. The irony is clear. The situations that break people down in life are not caused by a lack of academic knowledge, but by a lack of mental strength. And this kind of strength is not something we are born with. It must be developed like any other skill. Mental discipline is not just about staying calm or focused. It is the root of all self-control, the ability to respond rather than react, to choose thought over impulse. Without it, people fall victim to distraction, frustration, and fear. It's not that life becomes more difficult, but rather that we become less able to handle it. Just like a body that is never trained becomes weak, a mind that is never guided becomes chaotic, and in a chaotic mind, even small problems appear massive. Unfortunately, most school systems are not designed to prioritize this kind of training. There are no exams in patience, no scores for self-awareness, no trophies for inner peace. Because these qualities are invisible, they are undervalued. But make no mistake, they are what sustain a meaningful life. When students leave the structure of the classroom and enter the unpredictability of the real world, it's not their academic knowledge that is tested first, it is their mindset. Imagine if, from a young age, we were taught how to notice our thoughts without judgment. Imagine if we practiced how to breathe through discomfort instead of running from it. Imagine learning not just how to solve a problem on paper, but how to solve emotional problems with the same clarity and discipline. This kind of education would not only create smarter individuals, but stronger, calmer, and more conscious ones. Yet, this remains the missing curriculum, the one lesson school forgets to teach. The human mind is one of the most powerful tools in existence. It can create art, solve complex problems, build civilizations, and imagine futures that do not yet exist. But like any tool, it depends entirely on how it is used. A blade can be used to prepare food or to harm someone. Fire can warm a home or burn it down. The mind, in the same way, can be your greatest ally or your most persistent enemy. Without training, it often becomes the latter. Instead of clarity, it brings confusion. Instead of peace, it creates conflict. This is not because the mind is flawed, but because we've never been taught how to use it properly. An untrained mind is reactive. It jumps to conclusions, assumes the worst, and feeds off past memories and future worries. It clings to what is comfortable and resists what is uncertain. This is why even small inconveniences can feel overwhelming, why a single comment can ruin an entire day, or why success feels empty and failure feels like the end. These emotional storms aren't caused by the events themselves, but by how the mind interprets them. When left on autopilot, The mind becomes a storyteller, often spinning tales of fear, judgment, and limitation. Many people live their entire lives trapped in this mental maze. They react impulsively, defend their egos, and repeat the same emotional patterns without even realizing it. And all the while, they believe it is the world that needs to change, not their perception of it. But it's not the events that disturb us. It's our thoughts about them. And those thoughts, if never observed or questioned, become a prison. The mind, rather than being a space of insight and awareness, becomes a source of stress and limitation. Training the mind means learning how to step back from thought, not to suppress it, but to see it clearly. It means creating a gap between stimulus and response. In that space lies choice, and in that choice lies freedom. This is what schools often miss, the understanding that thinking is not the same as awareness. You can be full of thoughts and still lack clarity. You can have all the right answers, but no peace. You can be intellectually intelligent, but emotionally lost. The real challenge is not just gaining knowledge, but learning how to navigate your inner world. To treat the mind as a tool, you must first stop identifying with it. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of those thoughts. This realization alone shifts everything. It creates space, and in that space, you begin to see how often the mind leads you in circles, repeating the same fears, worries, and judgments. But once you become aware of the pattern, you are no longer controlled by it. That is the beginning of mastery, when the mind no longer uses you, but you begin to use it with clarity, purpose, and peace. When we think of learning, most of us imagine absorbing facts or practicing skills that produce measurable results. Solving a math problem, learning a language, or mastering a musical instrument. But self-awareness and mindfulness, though less tangible, are no less skills to be developed. They require practice, patience, and guidance. Like any skill, they start small, noticing a breath, recognizing a feeling, observing a thought without reacting. Over time, with consistent effort, these moments expand into greater clarity and emotional balance. The mind becomes less chaotic and the person more grounded. The key to this training is repetition and intention. Just as you wouldn't expect to become fluent in a new language overnight, self-awareness demands daily practice. It can begin with something as simple as checking in with yourself throughout the day. How am I feeling? What thoughts are running through my mind? Am I reacting or responding? These small questions act like gentle exercises for the mind, gradually strengthening the ability to observe without judgment. Over weeks and months, this habit rewires the brain, creating new neural pathways that support calmness and focus. Mindfulness is not about escaping the present moment or suppressing difficult emotions. Rather, it is the art of fully experiencing what is happening inside and outside without resistance. It's about turning towards discomfort instead of away, listening deeply to your own inner voice and holding space for whatever arises. This kind of presence allows for a clearer perspective. When you are mindful, you catch yourself before the mind spirals into worry or regret. You create a pause, a space for choice, which can transform your reaction entirely. Importantly, self-awareness and mindfulness cultivate compassion, not only for others, but for yourself. When you learn to watch your thoughts without harsh judgment, you begin to soften the inner critic that often fuels anxiety and self-doubt. This compassion creates resilience. Instead of being tossed about by every emotional wave, you learn to ride them with grace. You see challenges as part of growth rather than as threats. And with this shift, mental peace becomes less fragile, more accessible in daily life. Just like practicing piano scales or rehearsing a speech, the mind's training requires discipline and kindness. It asks for dedication without perfectionism, effort without frustration. The reward is subtle but profound. A mind that no longer feels like an enemy, but becomes a trusted ally. A mind capable of deep focus, emotional regulation, and insightful awareness. This training is the foundation of true wisdom and well-being, something that can be nurtured in anyone at any age with intention and patience. In today's world, information is everywhere, at our fingertips, streaming non-stop from screens and devices. We are surrounded by data, facts, and opinions. Yet, having access to vast amounts of information does not automatically translate into wisdom. Wisdom is something deeper. It arises from a profound inner understanding of ourselves and the world around us. It is the ability to see beyond surface appearances and to grasp the essence of experience with clarity and compassion. This kind of insight cannot be found in books alone, nor can it be downloaded. It must be cultivated from within. Inner understanding is born through reflection and direct experience. It requires us to look inward honestly and deeply, to explore the motivations, fears, and desires that drive our behavior. It invites us to question our assumptions and beliefs, to recognize where we may be blind or mistaken. This process is often uncomfortable because it challenges the stories we tell ourselves, stories that shape our identity and actions. But it is through this discomfort that growth happens. Without inner understanding, knowledge remains superficial, limited to intellectual exercises rather than guiding meaningful living. Moreover, wisdom involves the ability to relate to others with empathy and humility. When we understand our own mind and emotions, we become more aware of the shared human experience, the joys, struggles, and vulnerabilities that connect us all. This perspective softens judgment and opens the heart. Wisdom allows us to navigate relationships with patience and kindness, to communicate not just with words, but with genuine presence. It helps us respond thoughtfully to conflict and uncertainty rather than reacting out of fear or ego. These qualities are rarely taught explicitly, but are essential to living well. The gap between knowledge and wisdom is often seen in how people handle life's challenges. Two individuals may have the same information, yet respond in radically different ways. One with calm clarity, the other with panic or despair. This difference is not due to intelligence or education alone, but to inner maturity and awareness. Wisdom integrates mind and heart, intellect and intuition. It gives us the strength to accept what cannot be changed and the courage to act when change is needed. It is the compass that guides us through complexity and ambiguity. To develop inner understanding requires a commitment to ongoing self-inquiry and openness. It means listening to silence as much as noise, valuing stillness as much as action. It invites us to slow down and pay attention to the subtle movements within, thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, all of which carry important messages. This practice nurtures clarity, enabling us to discern truth from illusion. Over time, inner understanding becomes a natural part of how we engage with life, influencing not just what we know, but how we live, love, and lead. Many people believe that developing mental discipline or mindfulness is something only for the young, or that it requires years of meditation or special conditions. This is a misconception. The mind is always capable of growth and change, no matter your age or background. That is, the number R, the brain's plasticity, means it can form new connections throughout life, and the heart's capacity for openness can expand with practice. What matters most is the willingness to begin, a single moment of intention that opens the door to new possibilities. No past experience or perceived limitation can prevent the mind from evolving. Starting the journey of mental training does not demand extraordinary circumstances. It can begin in everyday moments, a few conscious breaths before starting the day, a pause before reacting to frustration, or a brief moment of stillness amid a busy schedule. These small practices accumulate over time, building a foundation of awareness that gradually transforms how you experience life. The process is not about perfection or instant change, but about gentle persistence and patience. Every step, no matter how small, contributes to a greater sense of control and calm. It is important to remember that setbacks and distractions are natural parts of this path. The mind is used to running freely and resisting boundaries, so training it will sometimes feel like pushing against a current. This resistance is not a failure, but a sign of growth, a signal that you are engaging with deeper parts of yourself. Instead of judging yourself harshly for wandering thoughts or impatience, meet these challenges with kindness. Each return to awareness is a victory, reinforcing the habit and making the mind stronger and more resilient. Many who begin this practice discover that the benefits extend far beyond the mind alone. As mental discipline strengthens, clarity increases, emotional turbulence lessens, and decision-making improves. Relationships become more harmonious because you respond with greater understanding and less reactivity. Stress no longer controls you, and moments of joy and presence become more accessible. These changes ripple outward, improving not only personal well-being, but also how you contribute to your community and environment. Perhaps the most encouraging truth is that this skill is entirely within your reach, regardless of your past. No matter how busy, distracted, or overwhelmed life feels, the mind can always be trained to find balance and strength. The opportunity to grow and heal is present in every breath, every thought, every moment. This means that the power to transform your experience lies in your hands, waiting to be awakened and practiced with gentle dedication.